Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of BIM After Dark's Happy Hour. Thank you for joining me. I'm Jeff. I hope you guys all have a cocktail and are ready to dive into some cool Revit stuff here. I'm drinking a little red port wine. Yes, I'm drinking it with ice. Somebody asked the question last time. So anyways, thank you for joining me. This has been awesome. This has become a Thursday night tradition now since quarantine started, and I plan on keeping it up. The content ideas have been flowing in from you guys, so I appreciate it so much. First, I want to say some of you may notice that I'm wearing something a little unique tonight. I'm wearing a jersey. So I am, hopefully I don't offend anyone. I know Manchester United is one of those teams that is a little polarizing, kind of like the Yankees or the Red Sox or something like that. But I'm a huge Manchester United fan, and today it was announced that on June 17th, I believe, the Premier League will restart again, so I'm wearing this jersey in honor of that. So for United fans out there, awesome. Thanks for joining me. For Liverpool and City fans, I'm sorry if this offends you and you hate me because of it, but I promise you I still like you guys. So if this is your first time here and you enjoy the content, please make sure you subscribe below, subscribe to the channel. I do post other things other than live happy hours, but your best way to get notified of the next happy hour is to subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to hit 60,000 subscribers for the year, which is pretty sweet. We rolled over 30,000 a couple weeks ago or a week ago. I don't remember when it was, and I'm hoping that we can hit the 60, which would be really, really cool. So today we have a fun topic. It may not seem fun initially to you out there who are architects like myself, because the last thing some of us want to think or do or deal with is ductwork, for example. But I promise you this is really cool, and I think it's going to expand everyone's knowledge of Revit in general. So this was actually inspired by a member in a discussion that's happening inside of the BIM After Dark community. For those of you who aren't familiar with what that is, I have a membership community which has multiple courses and discussions and live office hours and a lot of vibrant members, beta members right now. We have over 75 members, and it's awesome. If you're interested in it, within the next couple weeks, I will be opening up membership again. I may actually be going with a public opening. We had 2 rounds of beta, and the feedback has been awesome. Brian Payne, what's up, dude? Nice to see you. So I'm linking down below, and I'll link it in the comments for those of you who see this later, but right now I'm linking it in the chat. If you're interested in knowing more about the community side of things, and when it's launched, you can go to bimafterdarkbeta.com, and you can sign up, and that'll give you all the information. But anyways, within the community, we had a discussion. Somebody was asking during an office hour about modeling ductwork and piping in Revit, and sort of the discussion sort of grew from there. And I realized that it's one of those things where I personally don't have a lot of content produced for MEP, mainly because I am an architect, so I'll admit that. I wasn't really sure if there was a need or a necessity and a want for it within my community. And over time, I've realized that there is, and there's also valuable uses for it. And so what I'm going to sort of run through tonight, and remember, this is a live session. It's a happy hour, so I want you guys to relax, have fun, and also feel free to chat and ask questions. So I have formal content that I'm going to be presenting, but I really want to interact with you guys the best I can through the chat. So there's a little bit of a delay, so bear with me, and I'm the only one here, so I will be sort of reading the chat and as I do the demo. But definitely feel free to ask questions as we go along. So I teach a course at the University of Hartford, and with grad and undergrad students. And one of the things I started teaching the last couple semesters is we take one class and I dedicate it to teaching them how to do exactly what I'm going to show you today, how to model ducts and pipes. And one of the main reasons why I started teaching it there is because I'd go to design crits and I'd see students' projects, and everyone has exposed ceilings, right? Exposed ceilings are great. I love them too. But they all have exposed ceilings, and either they had just floors and there was no structure at all exposed, or maybe there's floors and structure and there was no MEP being shown. And so just that alone, just the visualization side of it. So if you're designing a building, you're making renderings, you're trying to you're trying to explain your concept to people. Just being able to quickly throw ducts in there, even if they're not necessarily the final design, because you're not an engineer, but there's something. You have an idea. There's trunks. There's branches. I mean, as an architect, you should have an idea, at least a little bit, of how MEP systems work. And so I started teaching it because of that. And then I also thought about, and this is kind of where the discussion came on in the community, it is nice to be able to throw in some ductwork to make sure that your design works. So maybe you want to do some verification of your own. Maybe you want to check that a chase is big enough or to fit 3 pipes in a piece of duct, or maybe you want to run the actual trunks and mains through the building or through your house, even just to see if things work and things fit. So I do think there's value in it, and it's one of those things that I know a lot of you architects out there, and I'm sure there's engineers out there, and I'm sure there's going to be people who are very familiar with the systems tab in Revit, and so this is meant to be more of a beginning, but feel free to hang out and give your input. I will admit right away that I don't use this tab all that often. I've been using Revit for 12, 13, I don't even know how many years now, and I want to say it wasn't until maybe 3 years ago where I really actually started using some of the tools in here. So I will completely admit that I'm one of those dummies who doesn't know everything there is to know about the systems tab, but I do know enough to model what I need and hopefully teach you guys a little bit about what, from my perspective, how to get started using these tools. And it's not going to be a how-to of every single toolbar in the systems and setting up families and stuff. This is for architects. So what I mean by that is I'm going to keep it simple, straightforward, and show you how to get what you need and what's important. All right? Sweet. So I see some chats coming in. So before I jump into anything else, let's see. So Aussie BIM Guru, thanks for joining, dude. I usually use the Duct tool when I hit the shortcut by accident. Yes, I know where that goes. Low, medium duct loops help visualize tenant space. That's a great point, Brian. So if you're doing a lot of TI and tenant fit out stuff, being able to just quickly throw in some loops is valuable, right? Me personally, one of the main reasons why there's actually sort of 2 reasons. When I started working with a construction manager more, there was two sort of reasons that I did it. Well, for VR, so for virtual reality, which is visualization, being able to place fully detailed looking ducts in a scene is extremely valuable, right? It helps people immerse themselves into the scene. And the other one is actually, believe it or not, underground. So there's a huge void in the industry with underground systems and pipes and modeling. And so most of the civil drawings, and I'm not going to say most of the civil engineers, because I do know that there are civil engineers out there who are using 3D. But for the most part, we're getting CAD drawings with profiles, and maybe those are in Civil 3D, but we're not getting those Civil 3D files. But either way, there's a lot of existing, for example, is huge too, right? We model a lot of existing underground utilities to verify that the profiles exist or fit, and so on and so forth for sequencing. And so utilizing the Duct tool for duct banks, for electrical duct banks, is valuable for us. Pipes, obviously underground. So I actually kind of that's kind of where I really had to force myself to learn these tools, was to model underground, believe it or not. All right, so all that being said is kind of an introduction to how we're gonna jump into this. So what I want to do, again, this is meant to be a how can you get started. So perfect comments that came up there, accidentally hitting the Duct tool, things like that, but I've been there, and I know what it's like, and it feels pretty recent that I struggled through some of these tools. So what I'm hoping to do is at least get you over the biggest hump, and then where you take it from there, and how many of these tools and how deep you want to go into this systems tab of Revit is completely up to you from here. All right. So with that being said, thank you again for joining me. If you joined a little later, I'm Jeff. What's up? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump right into it. And so again, I have I have content set up, but I really want you guys to ask questions, and I'm going to try my best to get to them as we go through it. But as I see ones that stick out to my mind that are good questions that go along with content, I'm going to keep answering them. So I really do want those discussions to flow. So don't be shy. Make sure you guys bang around in the chat for sure. And remember, these chats get recorded, so people will see them later, and so they can see what question you asked, and it'll be valuable for everyone down the road. All right, so my little head is down in the right-hand corner for the most part. That should be out of the way since we're only using Revit. Of course, when a warning pops up, which I'm fully expecting some warnings and errors to pop up, I'll just drag them out of the way for you. But we're going to jump in. What's up, Derek from Connecticut? Actually, you know what? Good point, Derek. So Derek from Connecticut is the one who made the thumbnail, so thanks, Derek. But I did want to show live because I didn't want to use a specific thumbnail. I was afraid YouTube was going to rip it down because you'll see why. But I figured maybe I'll share it live. I don't think that's a problem there. So this was the original thumbnail for this Ductwork for Dummies. So I thought that was pretty cool. But unfortunately, I was afraid that the stream would get popped down or something funky. So, all right, here we are. So remember, I'm an architect. So I'm like, hey, I'm in Revit. I want to draw a duct. So what this is here, this is a typical, I'll even start it from scratch just so that you believe me. So if I start a brand new file, so if I go to File, New, Project, and I do an architectural template. So this is the Autodesk architectural template file, okay? If I go in here and I hit Systems and I say, hey everybody, I'm going to draw myself a duct. So I'm going to hit Duct, Oval Duct, right? I'm going to change the offset because for right now it's actually drawing 9 feet above my head. I'm going to hit it to 0 just for the sake of this. I'm going to change my view to fine so I can see it. So there we go, I'm drawing a duct, right? Like, all right, now it's going to turn the corner. Wait a minute. What? Why is it telling me no? Look, I can't click a duct except for straight. I don't understand. What on earth is going on here, right? And so this is literally what I did when I first hit it. And pipe, same thing. All right, I'm going to draw a pipe now. So let me click a pipe. Let me click 0. Click here. What the heck? Why on earth can't I draw a pipe in different directions? This doesn't make any sense. So then I'm like, all right, well, let me try. If I draw one over here and I trim it. Oh, what? Like I said there. The routing solution failed because there is no default fitting type specified for the fitting, cannot be found for the project. Ensure the fitting is loaded in the project and try again. I'm sure everyone out there right now has gotten this error when they tried using the Systems tab. If you have, let me know in the chat. I'm sure you have, but let me know because I'm sure you've all been here before. So this is the most common thing, right? The most frustrating thing with system families is that, or with MEP systems in Revit, is that it's all about the setup. Okay, and I wanted to show this on purpose because what you'll see is by using this default template, there we go again, by using this default template, and I mean I could try, there may be some other duct, I know some of you may be like, hey, try the square duct, try the rectangular duct, all right, so I'll try the rectangular duct, still doing it, right, it's giving me issues here, okay. Everyone has been here before, I know everyone's been here before because that's exactly where you start, that's what happens, right? And so you're like, I don't understand. I can go into architecture, I can click wall, and I can do whatever I want with this thing. Look how beautifully that cleans up, right? Why don't pipes work this way? Why don't ducts work this way? And so the key to understanding, and this is really like the most important concept when it comes to using pipes and ducts in Revit, is reading this error. So when you read this error, it says the routing solution failed because there is no default fitting type specified or the fitting type cannot be found in the project. So the difference between a wall and a duct or a pipe is that in order to connect, right, two pieces of pipe, something needs to be there, right? If I asked you to go install I guess black iron pipe's not as common now, so maybe copper or PVC, but same idea. Let's, I asked you to go. You said, hey, go. You have to go run a new supply line to a new sink in your house, right? If you think about it, you're not gonna buy. Yeah, you could buy some bends and stuff like that, but odds are you're gonna buy a bunch of straight pieces of pipe, and then you're gonna buy T's and elbows and 45s and everything, right? Because that's just how these things work. Well, Revit's the same way. You cannot draw these things without having your T's, your elbows, your Siamese, whatever fittings that will make these things connect, right? Walls don't need that, because walls, yes, there are layers to them, and really the biggest thing we're controlling with a wall, right, is going to be how those layers return, right? How they loop and react with each other, which is their own thing. But you don't necessarily need a fitting to make a 90-degree wall, right? It's not necessary. Okay. So all that being said, this is the architecture template, right? So then if I go into a file like this, and I go into my floor plan, and I go to 0, why is it that I can do that with my duct, right? I just made ductwork. It's all because of those routing preferences. It's all because of those fittings and those connections, okay? So where do you find these and how do you set them up, right? So when I'm going to go back to the architecture file. I'm going to be flipping back and forth. Eventually I'm going to land just in this file, but I'm going to flip back and forth a little bit because I really want to show you what it takes to develop and create this template file, or a template type of file, and if you need to modify one. The cool thing about it is once you have a file set up and you have systems, so you have specific duct systems and pipe systems set up with the routing preferences that work for you, which for the most part you can get almost all of them set up and not have to do too much after the fact. Then you're pretty much set. You don't even really have to think about routing preferences anymore until you try to do something really, really wonky. But for now, what I want to show you is if I go back into my architectural file and I go into 3D, because why not? If I click this rectangular duct, so by default, there are ducts in here, right? There's an oval, rectangular, and a round duct. If I go to edit type on this duct, right down here, there's a little thing called routing preferences. If I click this right here, this you can think of as important, if not more important, than your structure of your wall when you're digging deep into dialogues. If I click in this, what you'll notice is that there's all these different types of connections. So look, there's an elbow, junction, cross junction, transition. But what you'll notice is that they all say no, or none, I mean, right? So basically, Revit has no idea when there's a cross or a transition or even an elbow. It doesn't know what to do, right? The only thing, for some reason, that the architecture file has is a T, which I don't even think it had that. I'm actually, since we're live, why not? I'm going to try to model a T in here and see what happens. Yeah, I don't know why it's telling me that there should be a T, but that's kind of weird. Okay, so you'll notice these all say none, okay? If I go into my template file over here that has the routing preferences set up, and I click my rectangular duct, I go to edit type, and I go to routing preferences, look at that. There's a rectangular elbow, there's a tap, there's a rectangular takeoff for junctions, there's a cross, there are families applied to every type of connection or junction you can think of for this specific duct type. And so that's the important part. So if you did not have a template and you said, or maybe you're working in your architecture file, I'll show you a way to do that anyways. But let's just say for some reason you were starting from scratch, which after tonight you will not have to start from scratch. But right now, let's say you're starting from scratch because it's always good to know. And I'm in the architecture file. If I click the the rectangular duct here, and I go to edit type, and I go to routing preferences, you'll notice that even in here, I can't even pick a family because every one of these junctions, the elbows, the T's, the 45s, the Siamese, whatever, right? Every one of those is is a family, right? Just like anything in Revit. So you need an elbow family. You need a J family, a radius, a mitered elbow, right? And so you actually need to go to dig through your family catalog and load all of these fittings. So imagine what the process is to initially set these things up, right? I'd have to go through every single one of these types, load the family, and apply it. Yeah, I could load the family, I could batch load the families and then apply it, but you're still doing it for every single type. And if you want to have radius, so let's just say, you know, if I go on this one, for example, oops, I did multiple types, didn't I? If I wanted to have mitered elbows and radial elbows, which is what you're seeing here, right? See how there's two different types here? I have to do that for the two different types. So notice I go in here, and this elbow has its own setting, right? It's a rectangular one, whereas this type has a radius. So not only do you have to do it for every single one, but you have to make sure the specific connection or junction for each family type. So if you have multiple types of connections on rectangular ducts, you need multiple types of connections on rectangular ducts, right? So see how these have 4, and these have 4, and then these have 4, right? These are kind of the most common that we use to create our MEP systems. So if you were to do this from scratch, that's what you would have to do. You would have to march through and set up each one of those, which would hurt, as you can imagine. The good news is, you don't necessarily have to do that part of it. You can start with a file that already has it, or you can use a file that someone else made, let's say. So one of the ways that I've done it in the past is that everyone, if you've installed Revit, you have a mechanical sample file that Autodesk created, and that has a lot of them done. It's not perfect. I can tell you from experience that there aren't, it's not great. But if I go over to File, Open Sample Files, and I go to the RME Advanced Sample Projects, so Revit Mechanical Engineering, I guess, RME, or just Revit Mechanical, I'm not really sure. But either way, RME Advanced Sample Project, which you guys all have the ability to do. Then you'll notice that they have in this file, if I go to Edit Type, or I pull down here, you can see they have a lot of these things already set up. Right? Routing preferences, But you'll notice that there are some specific connections that they do not have families loaded in for. So you will find some instances in this template where you may run into that same error, and you have to figure out what family belongs to the transition you're trying to make. Okay, so what you can do is you can start with this file. You can start with a blank file, and you can transfer project standards, which is what I'll just show you real quickly how to do. And what's funny is I'm going through all this, and it's 10 minutes down the road, and we haven't even really drawn a duct. I haven't showed you the process of drawing a duct, right? Because this is one of the most important pieces of using the Systems tab. This is the most important piece of using ducts and pipes, is having the right junctions, in the template, in the file that you're using. From there, once you set this stuff up, you'll see exactly how easy it really is to model pipes and ducts. It's super easy, but as long as these things are there, okay? So what I could do is I could go into Manage, Transfer Project Standards. Now I'm in my architecture file, and I can go over and, I can dig through and I can look for pipe types, system types, all these different things, and I can go down the list and so on. And so if you want to, you can do that. Or I do believe that if you copy and paste a full system in, it brings in, I think it brings in the type. I don't know. You guys can probably verify that for me, but I believe if you bring in an entire system that has what you're looking for, I believe it has. Yeah, you can see there. So notice this was a different type. See, mitered elbows. The default was what was there, and so it does bring them in. So that that's one way to do it too. If you guys want to use the file that I'm going to use right here, so this file is one that actually Derek, who's in the chat right now, Him and I sort of created by combining a whole bunch of things and project that we've created. And then I use this specific file for homework for my students. But if you do want to download this file and use it, here's a link here. And I just posted a link in the chat to sign up to download it. And I'll post it in the comments for those of you who see it in the future. I'll post it in the description, I should say, of this video to download this file. But maybe if you want to follow along later or something like that. But it has everything that we've set up and some things that we've done there. So to wrap up that whole beginning section, and I'm going to try to get to some. I see some chats there, so I want to make sure I read some questions before I move on. Understanding that you need to have routing preferences set up. So think about pipes and ducts, and think about when you need, in the real world, how you would build them is that you cannot put two pieces of straight duct right together without a T, or two pieces of straight pipe together without a T, right? There's a connection that exists. That connection is a family, and Revit needs to know what the heck it's doing, okay? So there's not only a T, but imagine there's a 45T. You know, so you can see how this sort of grows and grows and grows. Okay, so if you want to download this family that, or this file that I'm using right here, click the link in the chat. But for right now, you can follow along. So key here, setting up routing preferences is major. It is the most, if not the most important piece of it. Let me just read some of the chat, since I do see that folks are asking some questions here. So sorry, Hussam, to ruin it with my Man United shirt. If you must have missed the intro. But I'm celebrating the Premier League coming back in a couple weeks with my favorite team. So I apologize if that offends anyone. Everyone gets the error. Awesome. I knew you guys would. Oh, Derek's correcting me with how to make that T work. You're right. I can specify the junction type. Sorry. And my easiest method is, and so Scoured actually just said the transfer project standard process, which is great. So that's one way to do it, is the transfer project standard. If you want to copy paste, you can copy paste, whatever, or start with the template. Right. Awesome. So Ryan asked any tips on ducts from laser scans. Let's draw ducts first, and then we can get there. But I can tell you right now, I don't think there's any trade secrets yet for this, other than brute force modeling for that part of it. But either way, let us do this. So now we have a file, and our file has what we need, right? It has ducts, it has pipes, and ideally we can draw pretty much whatever we want. So then once you have that, you know, modeling the ducts themselves and modeling actually becomes extremely simple. It's very much like drawing walls, right? So what I'm going to do is, this is actually, so again, this is my, this is what I teach in my class. So this is actually the homework assignment that I give to my students. But really it's just some reflected ceiling plan with some ducts on it, just to get them to sort of enforce what they learn. But the actual ability to draw. So I'm doing it in a reflected ceiling plan because I feel like that's the easiest for me to model in. It makes sense to me. The second piece, so the first piece of modeling ducts and modeling ducts and pipes is the routing preferences and making sure those are set up, right? Starting with a good template or bringing in good template information. But really it's bringing in those duct and pipe types that have the routing stuff ready to roll, okay? The second really important piece is not being afraid to use views. So when you're modeling pipes and ducts, you are going to be flipping between floor plans, sections, elevations, reflected ceiling plans, and 3D views. You're going to be using the whole gamut because it's the easiest way to do it, right? And so I just saw a question in here that said tips for vertical pipes and ducts. We're going to get right into that in a second, but the views are really important because just like anything else in Revit, the ducts and pipes, they rely on work planes, right? Everything in Revit pretty much relies on work planes, right? And so so because of that, it becomes important what view you use to actually draw your ducts and draw your pipes, okay? So right now, really simple. I'm on a reflective ceiling plan, and I'm just going to draw some ducts. So you can see my reference level is level 1. but you'll notice it's level 1 mechanical RCP. So that's this level. It's a little confusing because of what it's named. I didn't want you to think that there's a level up here. But so this is actually my reference level. But you'll notice, and don't be afraid of this because it screws everyone up. When you hit ducts, it's kind of like when you're drawing foundation walls. Every time someone new draws a foundation wall, they're like, why the hell can't I see it? Because Revit defaults the base of the wall to be like -10, right? And so by default, of course this is set to something else, but by default, the elevation of your the ductwork are usually set to like 9 or 10 feet. So if I'm in a floor plan, right, and I go to draw a duct, immediately I'm going to get this error. Oops, there it is. Let me pull it up there. Right, none of the created elements are visible in view. So I can't even tell you how many times I get this question. Where is my stuff? Right? If you go in 3D, you'll see it's there. But what's happening here is that you're in a floor plan view, cutting at 3 feet, and you're drawing your duct at 9 feet above your head. Right? And so that's where it's important to have your view set up and to understand what's going on here. So by going in my mechanical RCP, you'll notice there it is there, because now remember I'm cutting at 3 or 7 feet and I'm looking up, whatever my RCP is set to. So by default, pay attention to this options bar. You know, the options bar in the middle here, which no one ever, especially when you're new at Revit, ever remembers is here. Like somehow it's green right now, but I can't tell you like how many people miss this bar right here. Don't miss this bar. Whenever you're stuck on Revit, start here. Look at this bar, okay? So let's say I want to draw these at 9 feet. So it's pretty simple, right? There's a size, and you can see all the sizes are here. The sizes are here, right? And this is the height and the width. So I don't know what that is. I'm not even going to bother trying to zoom in and read that right now. But let's just say that I'm going to do a 14 by 12 inch duct here. 12 inch duct here. Come on. Okay. Oh, it's 10 by 12. Of course it is. Okay, so I'm going to draw it to here. And now I can just keep drawing as if it's a wall, right? I can draw left, right, up, down, whatever. I know it's hard to see. Sorry. I should probably just... Ooh, man, sorry, my throat. Is anyone else's allergies getting to them these days? Okay, let me just hide this stupid plane because it's just annoying now. So now I can draw ducts just like basically walls, right? I'm drawing at 9 feet and so on and so forth. But what I can do also is, let's say the width now changes to 18 inches and the height changes to 14 inches. If I continue drawing, you'll notice it automatically enlarges and there's a fitting there. And so that's part of the same thing as the routing preferences, right? If I go back into my architecture file and I do this, it's going to yell at me because this fitting, which is a 45-degree transition thing, that family doesn't exist. But because the routing preferences are set up, I can just go willy-nilly and, you know, I just change this to a 42-inch duct. I'm going to do some stuff in 3D now just because I think it'll be easier for you guys to see. Let me go to the mechanical view. Here we go. Right, so you could see this fitting here, and it just adjusts. It's a parametric family, and it adjusts to it. But what you notice is that as I was drawing my ducts, I don't really have to think about it anymore. I'm literally, let's see, 9 feet, 40 inch. Let's draw now, I don't know, a 19-inch duct from here to here, and then maybe we'll turn the corner, right? Notice how that just drew. I mean, I just click, 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 click. It's just like a chain of stuff. Pretty freaking awesome, right? So the reason why you couldn't do that before, oh look, I still have taps and all kinds of random crap from what I had before. Sorry about that. Delete all these. So the reason that you could not do that before is because of those routing preferences, right? Once you have these things set up, it makes your life so much easier. If I want to draw pipes, same exact rules. So I go into pipes. I can set my diameter. I want to do 8-inch pipes. You can see my pipe is set to 10 feet off the floor. Notice I'm just working in 3D now. 3D is usually one of the easier areas to work in because you can flip between floor plan and elevation and stuff. But again, you're going to be all over the place with views when you're doing MEP for sure. So now I can just draw this pipe. Look at that. As if, notice it's even doing 45s. And then here's a funny thing. So notice how I can do this 90, but the second I go more than 90, I get a no. That's because there's not a fitting in there. The fitting type can't do that goofy justification there. So there's some things you have to do. But for the most part, this is probably going to get you, not to mention would you want to do a joint like that? I don't know. this is probably going to get you far enough. Okay, so notice how I can just draw pipes as if they're basically walls. Right? It's that easy. Okay, and then you want to change the height of them, you want to change the size of them. It's very easy. If I just tab selected them, I can change the height to 8 feet, 9 feet. I can move them if I wanted to, but I like using this because now you're controlling it based off a level, which means that the level moves, your pipes move, parametric, Revit, you get it. If I select this middle one and I try and change it, this may blow some things up. Not too bad, look at that. So I change this to a 10-inch, and because the transitions are set up, it automatically put in this adapter, right? This transition piece. I can change the entire system if I want to a different size. Right, see how it just changed. So again, all of this is super simple because of the template I'm starting with. Okay. All right, and then notice the views make a difference. When do views make a difference? Well, somebody asked about making vertical pipes and stuff like that. My favorite way to do vertical pipes, and there's multiple ways, but my absolute favorite way is to just do them in a section. So what's going to happen is if you want to, so let's say I've got this duct here. The only problem with doing it in a section, and we'll talk about it in a second, is where the work plane is. But let's say I wanted to have, oops, wrong project. Let's say I wanted to have pipes that went over this little wall here for some reason. Let me make this wall go, oh, this is a link now. I forgot. I did some weird stuff. So let's say I want the pipe to go over this wall, or there's something that I need to get out of the way in this wall, right? So one of the easiest and quickest way to do vertical pipes is to just create a section and imagine that the center of my pipe is going to be this section, right? That's my work plane, okay? So now if I go into this section, okay, I go to pipes, okay, you'll notice that it's still using mechanical room as my work plane. But I can't change the elevation. Why? Because I'm drawing in this goofy direction. So what I can do now is, look at this. I can draw now in a section as if I was drawing in a floor plan. See that? And now you'll notice if I select each one of these, the middle elevation is automatically set where I drew it. Okay? Pretty sweet, right? So right off the bat, the easiest possible way to draw things vertically is to just cut a section and draw them in a section. There are other ways though. Okay, so I don't know if I should do them in this or if I should do it in another one. Let's see. So if I took this piece and I changed this to 15 feet. Oops, let's not do it that way. Let's disconnect it. So what I'm going to do is take half of this pipe here, get rid of this transition. I'm going to move this guy up, move this guy down to 10 feet. Or 1,000 feet. What the hell did I just type there? 10 feet. Here we go. I don't know what just happened there. Okay. So see the there's connections here where you can say add vertical, add whatever. And so by doing that, you know, depending on what your settings are. Sorry about that. I just got click happy there. When you connect them, so see how I have these two runs here? If I was to take this piece, and this could have been done in elevation view as well, but I like doing it in 3D because it's really easy. See how it says add vertical? It's set to be adding vertical. So it's automatically going to try, and notice how it's locking to the middle. Revit's saying, all right, well, I'm going to do a vertical piece in between. Okay. So if you don't want to draw a section, because this would obviously have been hard to draw a section on, right? The easiest way to do it there is you jump into 3D and you just drag select and call it a day. So like, for example, this may not work perfectly, but let's give it a shot. Why not? If I tried going from here, no, that's not gonna work. There we go. Okay. I thought I was gonna try and do some angle. So like, notice how these two ducts are at two different levels. If I go from the middle of this one, I'm locking, I'm connecting. All these things are set to automatically connect. And then it locks down to the bottom. If I click there, look what it does. It actually tries to make those connections. So when all of these things are set up, it becomes extremely easy to do. And this is why I always, it blows my mind. And again, I was in the same boat to think that this whole side of Revit, this whole systems thing is so hard and complicated. The reality is, once you have these things set up, once you have the template set up, once you have the once you have the routing conditions set up, it becomes extremely easy to do. Okay. So that's how you would model some stuff. You notice what I did there is I modeled in a RCP, I modeled in a section, and I modeled in a 3D view. So that's what I mean by views become really important, right? You're gonna need multiple views. You're gonna need working views probably if you're making documents out of these things. There's gonna be extremely, the views themselves are gonna be extremely important. You'll also notice here, check out these joints. I mean, we've got 45s, miters, reductions, like all of those things there would have been errors in the other template. Every single one of those. All right, sweet. Oh my goodness, it's 8:10 already? Get out of here. Okay, so let me just catch up with chat. Somebody was, Tango was upset that my ceiling grids weren't lined up. I'm sorry. That's just because of the image and the grids there. I apologize for offending you. I know I have the same kind of OCDs sometimes. A couple people are talking about wall openings. We're not going to get into that today, but yes, it would be nice if there's automatic wall openings. There are. I believe there's a couple plugins that do it, and there are some Dynamo scripts that can get it done. So definitely look into those if that's something that is a major pain point. Eduardo was one who asked about vertical pipes. I hope that answered your questions. I know that's one of the biggest concerns for people is you're drawing all these pipes, and you're like, how the hell do I make these things join vertically? And that's exactly how you do it there. Let's see here. What else? Wondering if there's an easy way to do sleeves. Same question from so sleeves and openings are a challenge, right? And so, like I said, the way I've done it in the past is we have there are Dynamo scripts out there that do it, there are, yeah, I would say look at Dynamo scripts for now. One more question before I move on. Talking about as-built. Yeah, Ryan. So Ryan's still talking about the laser scanning. And so, yeah, the biggest piece, and for those of you who ever dealt with creating as-builts from laser scans, is that, you can't just press a button and it converts a laser scan to pipes. Yeah, I know Recap has this funky little tool that sort of does it, but the reality is you're gonna be modeling. There's grunt work involved in creating as-builts still. Okay. Tips on pipes with slopes. Cool. Let's talk about it. So you'll notice each of these pipes has an elevation at each end. Right now I'm justifying it through the center, okay? And so if I know the elevation, so let's say this is 9 feet, ta-da, it's sloped. So I just changed the end elevation. But you'll also notice that there is a slope right here. See, it's saying 81 and something or other. So if I wanted control over the slope itself, there's a little button. Sorry, I didn't mean to click. I was clicking too fast on you guys. So notice it's grayed out, and so that's what some people get a little confused about. So I just did 9 feet to 10 feet because I know that's what I want it to be. But maybe the rule is you want this whole pipe or this whole system. So let me undo that so it's flat. Maybe you want this entire system to be a 1/4 inch per foot. So if you click slope, it opens a slope editor. And you can see I can do a 1/4 inch per foot, and I can say where do I want to start. So I'm starting over here. I click finish. And now your whole system is sloping at a 1/4 inch per foot. How do you know? I'll go in this view and you can see. See that? If you want to do individual pipes, you can select them. But that's probably the easiest way to do it. I'm sure there's other ways, and again, I'm not an engineer, so for those engineers out there who have workflows and setups that maybe make your life easier, as the architect in the room, I'm going to say that's how you do it. You click it and you change it. Looks like Aussie BIM Guru has a tutorial on his channel for putting penetrations in walls, so check that out. I'll link that in the description. Thanks, dude. Can they be drawn on a reference plane? All right, so can you talk about the duct color and how to change it? Oh, yeah. All right, so that's before I jump into the coloring and the visual and stuff like that. That's pretty much it. The only other thing I can tell you is that if you connecting to diffusers, for example. So I'm just drawing right now. I'm in a 3D view. Notice how in the 3D view you can flip down to plan views and stuff, and it helps. So let's just say this goes from a 40-inch to a lovely 12 by 12. Nice big drop there. Sorry if you guys heard that noise there. My VPN automatically disconnected. I guess I stopped working for a little while. Okay, so I'm just drawing a connection here. So notice what this did here is it put a pipe or a 12 by 12 inch duct connected by a T junction to this guy. I'm gonna make these taller. So I'm gonna select this system. Oh boy, I forgot it's this whole system, huh? Let's not mess with that right now. I know some of you mechanical guys are probably like, you just deleted this system. Ah. All right, and you'll notice I'm tabbing a lot. So one of the things you'll get used to is that when you tab through, and we'll talk about those materials, there's like 17 million times you can tab and select different things with ducts and pipes. It drives me freaking nuts, but you have to sort of pay attention. So this is doing like an initial branch, and this is doing another branch of objects, and then this is doing the entire network of objects, and then the next one is doing the system. So right now I'm just going to select the entire network, and I'm going to change the elevation of this to 12 feet. Oops, 14 feet, let's do. Okay, so what I want is it to be a little higher. So before I move on to materials, I just want to talk a little bit about diffusers and connecting to them. So when it comes to connecting to diffusers, for the most part, the family itself doesn't matter other than where it's hosted to. So you have face-based, work plane-based, etc., right? And that has nothing really to do with the connection. But the key is making sure that there's an MEP connector, right? So you need a duct or a pipe connector on whatever fitting you're connecting to. And that exists in the family editor. We're not going to jump into the family editor today. Oh, sorry about that. But the reality is it could be a star-shaped whatever. As long as it has this connector, then we're good. And notice the connector has a 12 by 12 inch written. So when it comes to ducts, most connectors, you need to have a size. So some cool things you can do is if I just take this little, the connector piece, I can, oops. Oh, this is a coordination element. Sorry about that. I was showing people how to do copy monitoring, so that's not gonna work. I'm gonna place a new one that's not copy monitored. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm just gonna quickly place a diffuser that's not copy monitored, so I don't deal with all the trash that you're seeing. So supply diffuser, hosted. Okay, so this one here. I'm trying to remember which one is face-based. Sorry, guys. Work plane is... Okay, so this one is face-based. So I'm just going to place a supply diffuser right here. Ta-da. I'm going to delete this guy. Yeah, quiet. Man, copy monitor is not happy with me today. Okay. So now, if I want, right, I can connect these pieces. Look at that. The resulting angle between the segments is great or too small. So this is where understanding what your duct is trying to do and what it can't and can do. So what this is telling me right here is that the mitered angles and whatever the heck is happening is it's not going to make it work, right? It's just simply not going to work. Okay, so there's a couple things you can do, but what I want to show you, obviously we could just draw in our section view the vertical piece if we wanted. You know, there's multiple ways we can solve this, but what I really want to show you guys right now is because just for the sake of knowing how it works and people don't know, is a really cool thing called flex duct. So I think everyone knows what flex duct is, and everyone has their idea about it, but the reality is what's cool about it is that it's spline based. So if I'm just drawing some flex duct, I can draw a flex duct and look what it does. It does all this crazy stuff. See that? Super freaking cool. Okay, so flex duct also has connectors and random stuff like that. And I don't know what I just did. Whoa. Look, I just blew up the flex duct. Hold on. There we go. So what I was getting at is flex duct is gonna override any of the trash that you run into. So notice I just went like this. I just clicked from here to here and it automatically made the connection, right? So pretty simple to use. You can change the diameter of it, 14 inch, 12 inch, etc., etc. This one is just really I don't know what I did here. Look, I'm really messing with it. Oh yeah, look at that thing. Well, either way, you get the idea. So I advise you to use flex duct only when extremely necessary, unless you are physically modeling and want to create flex duct. I know a lot of people it becomes a workaround for them, and so I wanted to show you it just because it exists and it's good to use. Flex pipe too. And it does come in handy when you're really stuck in a jam, but try to only use it in positions where you would actually want it to be. Okay, so anyways, connecting to diffusers. So last thing I want to talk about then, because it was a good question on here, how do you control the way things look? Okay, so when it comes to MEP systems, the rendered material and the shaded material, I believe, are all driven by the system. Okay, so if I go into visibility graphics, it's way over here, hold on. And I go down to ducts and I say I want to make all my ducts. Oh, wait a minute, look at that. I want to make my ducts pink, but hey, why is this grayed out? Okay, so you can't use it through visibility graphics. So then I'm like, all right, well, I want to override graphics by view. How am I supposed to make this pipe or this duct pink? Well, remember how I talked about tab? Well, if I tab, I get the network. If I tab twice and I get those dotted lines, that's the system. So if I click that, you'll notice that there's a system and there's system names. It's called hydronic supply 1. So if I go to edit type, notice that my systems have a material. So if you want to color your ducts, and even in rendering, if you want them to render a certain color, then they need to be systems, and systems need to connect. So you maybe select them differently and so on. So, but for now, these are default. So I'm just going to apply a material or create a material. It doesn't really matter. So I'm going to call this one create new material. We're going to call this one pink pipes. Obviously, maybe you want to call it hydronic supply or something like that. And I'm going to change it to a lovely, obnoxious pink. And then I could also change the rendering appearance to a lovely, obnoxious pink. Click apply, okay, etc. And ta-da, now we've got our system colored. But notice if I draw another piping system, it's pink, right? But I can change, if I tab around, I can change it from hydronic supply 3 to 2 or to 1 or to whatever, right? Well, I can't because I already made the other system, sorry. There we go. So notice in here there's types. So there's types with colors, right? So hold on. Yeah. I guess the system name. I explained that wrong. I'm sorry, guys. Because this one you can say. So the system name you can call whatever you want, but the system type is actually what you're seeing in here, which is it's a piping system, hydronic supply, blue, blah 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 blah. The system name and the system type are two separate things. What I was gonna say is that I believe what you could do is you could also create a filter using system names. So if I go over the filters and I do piping systems, which may not be in here. Go down to pipes, piping systems, system name. So you can see here system name, I can say equals, I can say pink pipes, and I can do an override. So I guess technically there's two ways to color pipes. You can use the system name or you can use the actual system type. But either way, you cannot change the color of pipes or ducts individually. You have to change the system. So So I hope that was helpful. I know I screwed up with the system names and types, but listen, it's live. What are we gonna do? And I'm an architect. So I think that was helpful. How could we connect MEP elements with architectural elements in the copy monitor? Yeah, so that's what I was showing here is that you cannot connect. So what you'll notice here is that this architectural model is a link, and so if I tab in, this is actually a linked diffuser, and so you cannot connect to the connector of an architectural model, or a linked model, I should say. However, you can copy monitor it, and then you can connect to your copy monitor. So the downfall there is that when things change, the engineer, in this case, has to go in and manually accept the change. Okay, so important piece there. It works fine. It is a solution that works perfectly fine as long as the users are doing what they're supposed to. And yeah, Gary just mentioned that filtering is good for color coding link consultants model. So it's a good point is that being able to access the system name is really quick and easy and simple through links too. But those are two ways that you control it. The key there is understanding that when I tab, even for ducts, if I tab, I have to tab to that system, which is the dotted line. And then from there, now I can apply different system types and different system colors. Of course, for some reason, half of mine is drawn in existing because I don't know what the hell I was doing. There we go. So it makes it really easy. And then because they're by material, those are the materials that will be the rendering settings can be through the materials too. Aussie BIM Guru's asking me, does the default duct object style material work as a blanket approach for orphan ducts? So I think what you're saying is it a good idea to have that default material set to something that, so if I go into tab, of course I clicked the wrong one. So the default right here being something specific, I guess so, yeah, I don't see why not. I wouldn't, for the sake of using the model for other things, it would be nice to have a default, like default duct instead of just using the default global. So awesome. All right. I think that's most of what I wanted to do. Yeah, I think that was it. The only other thing that I didn't show, which is pretty cool for everyone, especially when it comes to the visualization side of things, and this is for the architects, is in Revit 2018, 17, whenever, they introduced, if I go into view, they introduced fabrication parts, and some of you may have noticed this, but this is basically the AutoCAD MEP library. So this is individual parts brought in so that have really, really cool details. So when it comes to visualization, for example, if this was my exposed duct, I may want it to look a little more realistic in my renderings. So what I can do is I can actually select my my entire duct run, okay, and I can click Design to Fabrication. And again, this is also one of those things that you want to use that template that I'm sending out, because some of these things you have to be set up ahead of time. But if I just do Ductwork 24 by whatever, you'll notice it converts these into basically parts. Okay, so you can think of these almost like parts for a wall. But what's really cool about them is now they're individual pieces. They have flanges, which look awesome in renderings. If I tab them and connect them there, I can optimize the lengths. So there's settings to do that, but notice now it's taking one big long run and it's making multiples, right? And then, not only that, but again, this wants to be, let's say I'm doing a visualization, I want to do realistic stuff here. I can go over here and I can say, I want to put some hangers on this. So, you know, there's strut hangers, there's trapeze hangers, there's all kinds of hangers. And these things automatically adapt to the size of your duct. Right? And so look at those. Right? The ability to look how fast I can put this together, right? So think about, for visualization purposes, how awesome that is, right? To be able to quickly model this, as you saw when you have things set up, you can model it really, really, really fast. And then also in one click to create flanges on the ducts and then have a visualization. I mean, right? It's freaking awesome. So I really wanted to show that. So that's Design to Fabrication. So we're at the 8:30. We're at the hour mark, and my throat is going. So I'm going to quickly read some chats. If you want to download the MEP sample file that I used, I'm clicking. Sorry, I'm posting the link in the chat right now, and I am going to post it in the description for those of you looking at this in the future. And let me just double check to see if there's any more questions, you guys, because I hope this was a lot of good content. I'm actually kind of surprised I got as much as I did into an hour and answered some questions. Can each segment be individually scheduled if needed? Of course, 100%. I mean, these parts are, they have all their own pieces and information and all kinds of good stuff. So you can do all kinds of great stuff with parts. And I'm not going to even pretend like I know how to go from parts to, or from these to fabrication, all that stuff. I've seen it happen, but someone else out there can probably answer that question for you. But let's see. Can each segment be individually scheduled? I already answered that. Sweet. Yeah. So I think that's it. Thank you guys for coming. This was pretty awesome. I appreciate it. Again, make sure that you guys subscribe if you want to support me and see next week's happy hour. Next week we have a guest, which I will be announcing soon, and I'm not really sure what we'll be talking about yet, but it'll be fun, I promise you. So make sure you subscribe. And can we model hangers for the entire... Sorry, I just saw a question come in real quick. Anyways, it's kind of hard with the delay with chats. I apologize, guys. So make sure you subscribe. If you are interested in the community where this discussion started, again, bimafterdarkbeta.com is where you want to sign up for that. I posted the link for this MEP file. Thank you guys all for showing up. Thank you for joining me. Be safe, be happy, have a cocktail, and have a great night. I'll talk to everyone later.